The Bermuda Triangle. This expression is familiar to everyone, but when it comes to facts, few people can, let alone find it on a map. However, few can even clearly explain what exactly this triangle is famous for, except perhaps for vague stories about the disappearance of aircraft and ships. If you have 10 minutes, the strength to like the video, and a shade beer wreck in your hand, sit back. Now we will explain everything objectively, having analyzed both prejudices and really strange facts about a cultural phenomenon. Let's start simple, with geography. The Bermuda Triangle is an area in the Sargasso Sea, on the east coast of the United States, and just north of the more famous Caribbean Sea. By carefully studying the map, it will become clear that this place is a key destination for navigation and flights. There are three main factors here. Miami, one of the largest cities in Florida, is the capital of Puerto Rico, San Juan, as well as a popular holiday destination in Bermuda. However, suddenly, when we zoom out of the map and remember that the Earth is a sphere, the magic begins, and it turns out that the most famous Bermuda Triangle is located in this place. Turning to the historical part of the video, we learned that the first trip of Christopher Columbus to America passed through the Sargasso Sea and the Bermuda Triangle. Not surprisingly, almost all subsequent adventurers followed the already well-known route of Columbus and arrived in Cuba, Bermuda, or the Florida area. And now, question for connoisseurs. What will the sailors who were among the first to conquer the new route write in their memoirs? Of course, they will write that they were attacked by krakens in the sea with 30-meter waves, and punitive squads of Jedi mounted on rhinoceros pursued them. And only thanks to their steel character they were able to overcome difficulties, miraculously killing 100 other defenseless natives and taking their gold. And so the first legends about the terrible Bermuda Triangle were born. However, despite the love of sailors for exaggerating their exploits, it is worth remembering that the route was really not easy. There are many shoals in the Sargasso Sea. Cyclones and storms often occur. In addition, the area itself is located at the junction of the Caribbean and North American tectonic plates, which means that earthquakes occur periodically here. However, almost all of the described horrors of the Bermuda Triangle, which Columbus and his team were intimidated by, are exaggerations. There is a logical explanation. On September 13, 1492, Columbus recorded that the compass needle did not point to the North Star, but 6 degrees to the northwest. This record shows that Columbus's compass worked amazingly accurately. In fact, the compass needle points to the magnetic North Pole, which, as you know, does not coincide with either the geographic North Pole, much less the North Star. The second adventure of Columbus, when a huge tongue of flame fell into the sea, can hardly be attributed to a rare chance, and it is easy to explain this phenomenon as a meteor or just a lump of ash, which volcanic eruptions in the region can create in large quantities. The nervous system of superstitious sailors is certainly affected by such a phenomenon, but from a scientific point of view it is nothing special. To save you time, we note that absolutely the same can be said about all the stories associated with the Bermuda Triangle. Up to the 20th century, the loss of the French ship Rosalie in 1840, for example, is only described in Charles Fort's 1931 fiction book. Real historians have been unable to find evidence of the existence of this ship as such. Another popular victim of the Bermuda Triangle was the brigantine Mary Celeste, which was found in December 1872, several thousand kilometers from the triangle itself. While the crew disappeared somewhere, the ship itself was untouched. However, this is more of a classic story of another ghost ship, with many explanations for it, ranging from insurance fraud to ordinary storms. When it seemed to people that the ship was sinking, they jumped overboard and died. And in the morning it turned out that everything was in order with the ship. If we seriously consider the problem of the Bermuda Triangle, then the first truly strange case will be the disappearance of Flight 19. On December 5, 1945, at 2 in the afternoon, 5 Avenger-class bombers took off on a training flight from the coast of Florida. At 1600 hours, there were reports of problems with navigation, and after an hour, the pilots knew for sure that they were lost. At 8 p.m., the flight commander reported that the fuel was running out, and the detachment would land on the water. After that, no one else heard anything about the fate of the pilots, and the story began to acquire strange details. Those interested can find a separate video on the Kickbrains channel on this topic. Briefly, another rescue plane exploded midair and was sent to search for survivors. However, information appeared that one of the pilots refused to board the plane, citing intuition. The story behind Link 19 is really mysterious, but more like a detective story. The reason for the loss of communication with the aircraft, for example, could be interference from Cuban radio towers, which interrupted the frequency on which the pilots communicated with each other. The controllers asked the flight commander to switch to another frequency, but he refused so as not to lose contact with his own. There is also reconstruction of the route, which is more reminiscent of the wanderings of lost people than mystical events. However, all these cases blame everything on only one reason. When analyzing previous precedents, such as the disappearance of Mary Celeste and the USS Cyclops, which mysteriously disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle on March 4, 1918, along with 306 crew members, it becomes clear that the reasons for the disappearance may be different. Firstly, the First World War had already begun at that time, and German submarines actively attacked the Entente ships, sinking about 5,000 ships. Therefore, the USS Cyclops could have gotten in their way and become one of their victims. Moreover, even in the area of the Bermuda Triangle, German military operations were carried out. In addition, a few days before the tragedy with the USS Cyclops, the ship was seen in the port of Barbados, where it made an unscheduled stop due to overload. This may indicate possible problems and an unfavorable future for the ship. Thus, the reasons for the disappearance of ships in the area of the Bermuda Triangle can be associated both with military operations and submarine attacks, and with technical problems and adverse navigation conditions. No one should be embarrassed that for 100 years the remains of USS Cyclops, Flight 19, and other lost ships and aircraft have not been found. To this day, there are several officially recognized lost nuclear bombs in the world, including the By-28 F-1 thermonuclear bomb, which was lost along with the 52G bomber near Greenland in 1968. The other 2 bombs were lost in similar circumstances. Even the USSR also had its losses, which cannot simply be hushed up. This means that the possibility of nuclear-armed pirates in the future is not a fantasy scenario. In addition, it is known that 52 huge U.S. Navy submarines that have disappeared since World War II have still not been found. Even with the use of modern technology, only 6 of them were found. Statistics also show that the number of lost ships and aircraft in the Bermuda Triangle, in percentage terms, does not differ from the average value in other regions of the planet. Lawrence Kush, author of a 1975 book, carefully collected all confirmed cases and concluded that statistically losses in the Bermuda Triangle do not stand out. Thus, finding anything in the world's oceans is a difficult task, and statistics show that losses in the Bermuda Triangle are not unique or unusual. In 2013, the World Wildlife Fund did not include the Bermuda Triangle in the list of the most dangerous areas for navigation, even in the top 10. U.S. Coast Guard documents list Bermuda as a medium difficulty area. Thus, there is no reason to view the Bermuda Triangle as a particularly dangerous place. However, there are some unique and interesting features in the Bermuda Triangle. First of all, this is the junction of tectonic plates, which is quite active. For seismologists, this is of great interest, since the Caribbean regularly experiences seasonal earthquakes with magnitudes above 7, similar to those that occur in Turkey. There are also low-frequency vibrations known as infrasound that have implications in the Bermuda Triangle. Animals do not predict earthquakes, but they are able to sense low-frequency vibrations that occur days or weeks before an earthquake. The frequency range of such oscillations is below the human hearing threshold, but affects the brain by blocking the alpha rhythms. Scientists suggest that some people may exhibit strange behavior when exposed to infrasound, including panic or a change in orientation in space. However, these hypotheses require further research, and at the moment there is no reliable information that the Bermuda Triangle is a unique or special place. It has its own characteristics and histories, but their number does not exceed the characteristics and histories of other regions of our planet. Until we meet again, friends.